Hey everyone, welcome. We're going to be getting started in just a minute. I usually allow a little bit of time for everybody to get in. We're going to have some late comers too because they probably didn't read the email that they had to join the site to get the link. So we're going to get started. Got a great night planned. So we'll be right back. Hey, welcome everyone. I am Forrest. I hope you guys are having a good evening. Hey, if you can hear me and everything looks good, let me know in the chat room. But welcome to PrepperNet. We're having a watch party. I've never done this, but it's that important. So it's going to be a great evening. We've got lots of announcements and lots of plans in the future. So working, good to go, all good. Okay, awesome. And so, so there is a way. How do I do this? Let me. I'm going to do a test now, guys. Don't get mad at me, but I'm going to make this full screen, and I want you to tell me once it's full screen and you can't see me. Tell me that either you can hear me or you can't hear me. So it's now full screen. What I want to know. Can you hear me when it's full screen? Say full screen, I can hear you. Say full screen, I can hear you. That's what I need to see. Loud and clear, good to go. Can hear you, yes, 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 yes. Hear loud. I need to see full screen. Can you see? Loud and clear, full screen. Great, okay. That was great. Okay, perfect. Okay, so tonight we are going to watch a video. It's an old video, guys, and we know that, but it's because of what we're getting ready to do at PrepperNet. I think it's important that we go through this video, and we'll watch the video, but I'm going to cover a couple things as well, a little bit before, like a tiny, and a little bit afterwards. I'm talking 5 minutes or so. And then we're going to bring in some experts and we're going to talk about our plan. They're going to take some questions for us. But this is our first watch party. I've never done this. We'll see how it goes. But I just want you guys to know. So, I mean, even though we're going to be, you can get your popcorn and watch it on your TV or your computer. I want you guys to know we're talking something that is pretty serious. We're talking about PrepperNet COMMS and how to roll out and train people when it comes to communications. Now, I'll tell you this. I wrote this down. The number one thing that I heard while the pandemic was going on was everyone was saying, man, how are we going to communicate? What happens if we can't communicate? What happens? We can't meet now. How are we going to communicate? I heard that hundreds of times. So we're going to come up with a plan. So as we go through this video, I want you to think a couple things. I really want you to have a pen and paper down and ready to write some notes. But I want you to understand this is a big deal. Comms are a huge deal. And we've got to make it a bigger deal. I do within PrepperNet. So as you listen to this, and some parts are cheesy, some parts are like, oh my gosh. But I want you to, and then there's a lot of Amron stuff in there as well. Just kind of get the idea. And you can kind of see where people are coming from and some real world situations that happen. And so, but as we go through this video, I want you to do that. Just think, because I guarantee you, if we in the chat room right now, if comms are your weakest thing, put it on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 means you are JJS, you are Bravo, you're Patrick, you know it 100%, no problems. A 0 meaning your skills are like you got a Baofeng radio and you've never turned it on. So give me a 1 to 10. 10 is you're an expert. 0 is you're a 0. I mean, when it comes to comms. So, and let's see where everyone tonight is. We've got I see it's a big scale here. At 12, okay. 8s, 0s, 1s, 6s, 10s, 0s, 7s. It's going fast. 0, 7, 4, 5, 0, 8. So 8.5. Elizabeth's a 7. So we got a wide variety. So and okay, when I say 10, that means you are doing like, I think it's FF Digi or JS Call, and you're getting on the digital. That's a 10. If you're just doing 2 meter or 70 centimeters, you're really like a 3 or a 4. I'm just being honest. So we got people all over the board there. Great, that's awesome. But everyone knows, it seems that everyone's weakest skill is always comms, and so that's one of the things we're going to be focused on. So this radio tech, he's 11. That means he can talk with outer space aliens, which is amazing because I know very few people that have done that. So I am just kidding. I am laughing. So so this is a real big deal. So tonight we're going to have 2 experts on. We're going to have Bravo 65. I put him in a suit just to and I'm going to bring him up here on the side so you can kind of see Bravo. And we also have Patrick. Patrick is going incognito on us, but they're going to be here. They're going to be here afterwards. We're going to answer a lot of your questions. We're going to go through. I'm going to go through a high level of what we're going to be trying to do here. And so, but they're in the room. We're going to it's all about comms. And so real quickly, I'm going to go through some things here, and I'm going to just go ahead and get rid of us because you don't need to see us right now. So, but I just want Hey, can y'all hear me now? Oh, I think I turned myself off. So, okay. So we got PrepperNet, um, PrepperNet team. Sorry, it's that button. Everyone, yes. Okay. That button that really, that's why I had you guys show me. But anyway, so PrepperNet is an emergency response team that we're putting all the plans together right now. So we have a team that's working on that right now. You can go ahead and join that group. There are people in there that are putting together plans. We've kind of had that. We worked with let's see, Amron and Forward Observer during some hurricanes. So there's some kind of work that we've done with that. But now we're going to put it on paper: who we are, and what we're going to be doing. Okay. Then we've added PrepperNet TravelNet, which is brand new. It's a group in there. I've kind of limited the number of people in there. If you travel from point A to point B, I totally stole this from DD12, their idea, because when their members travel, they make sure they have PrepperNet members that are on standby that could help. And so everyone thought that was a great idea. Our team is putting together all the plans. We've got some exciting things with that. I've already seen some documentation from that, from both of them actually, and we'll be rolling that out. But all that has to go and work seamlessly with the COMMS plan, because a lot of these plans we're going to try to make even when the grid's down, or something's going like a disaster. So these three programs we're working on, and we have a big desire to get these things working. The comms team again is Bravo 65 and Patrick. They're doing all the work on this. We have secret groups that y'all can't see where people are working on this stuff. So you just trust us. We're working hard to get this done. And here's where you guys play a part. See, PrepperNet members, all the members, we need you guys to be involved in all these. We need you to be involved in the comms plan. It is crucial that every single one of you guys are some way involved in our comms plan, even on the lowest level of just having a Baofeng radio, or it even gets lower than that. You can actually just have a HF or shortwave receiver, and we're going to get into that. Our plan is going to actually have all that information in there. But see how these work together. We have all these three organizations, and all the members are going to work together. Okay. So I do want to say this. We're going to get right into the video, and then afterwards we're going to get in some of the plans high level. Now, don't get bored. This is everyone's like, this video's been out. It has. Hello, you're not the first scientist that discovered this. It's been out for a while. But we wanted us to watch it together so we can all kind of afterwards pull everyone in and then talk about our about how we're going to do and pull this off. We think it's so important that that we get together and we just do a kickoff like this. You know, I'm sorry, there are people still joining because they didn't read the email about they had to join the site beforehand. But I do want you guys to know that we are partnered with Amron. JJS, great guy. I've had him on my program. He's on our expert council for PrepperNet. Wonderful man. He is the one that put this on, and he put this together 6 years ago. So yes, if you just watch it with us. And there's a lot of things, and you'll see I'm hoping to instill how important the local comms are, because everybody talks about, digital, but I'm telling you, local comms are important, and we've got to get there in every city. So so we are partnered with Amron. And as you watch this video, there's a lot of Amron stuff. You don't really have to take notes on that, because we will be coming out with our own documentation, and some of the things he talks about on call signs and this kind of stuff. Don't need to take any notes on that. Just kind of watch the film for what it is and kind of learn and just think through it as it goes through. So here's our problem. Before we get the next slide, I promise we're going to start it. Here's our problem. We have PrepperNet members throughout the United States, throughout the world. But look at, I mean, this is not even, I haven't updated this in probably since November. Every single P icon there is not a person. Every single P represents a zip code. So take that now. So you see a P right in the middle of, in Nevada, in the middle of nowhere. That's a zip code that could be one person there, could be 30 people there. But every single P is a zip code. So what I did is I mapped out zip codes, and that's what you see. That's not every person, because I know in my zip code, there's 30, 40 people in my zip code alone. And so, but I just want you, so how do we communicate? How do we get intel that's happening in, Portland, or intel that's happening in Chicago to everyone? How do we then get the information back to everyone so everyone can make good, sound decisions for themselves, their groups, and their families? That's what we're going to be working on, okay? So with that said, as this film, and again, I thought it was important enough for everyone to watch this. It may get old. You may don't walk away, just watch it. And we're going to be back, and we're going to discuss some of the things in the video, but then we're going to show you the plan that we have. And I don't mind you guys talking and commenting in the chat room whatsoever, because you guys are experienced at this. And I have full faith that you guys can kind of get some of the points that we want across during this. So with that said, I am going to go ahead and start this video, and then afterwards, we'll break in. We'll come out afterwards, and I'll do about a 10-minute. Here's the plan, and then we're going to bring on Bravo and Patrick. Okay. So let's get this thing started. Let me add this to the stream here. I'm going to remove this one. Oh, God.
A daughter named Nicole. She's here with me, and she is warm and safe this afternoon, thanks to Amron.
If y'all can see the
I'll let you
video
say hi to her.
let me know.
Hi, Dad.
Radio Free Readout begins in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Our world is changing right before our eyes. This didn't happen overnight. It crept in on a culture that was asleep, at best. Most were apathetic, though, distracted and entertained. This nation-destroying machine that is grinding Americanism to a pulp was conceived of long ago. There are forces that have been planning the assassination of everything the United States once stood for, and they are in the final stages of planning, and they are ready to pull the trigger. It started out gradually, but it's picking up momentum. At some point in our not-too-distant future, something's going to break. When it does, do you have a plan? Are you prepared to provide for your family, protect your community, and quickly rebuild? More Americans are waking up every day, and they're preparing. The growth in numbers of our fellow citizens who are becoming aware is exponential. Citizens who are preparing, informing others, striving towards self-reliance, and want to preserve their rich American Judeo-Christian heritage and their values after a social, economic, or political collapse. They're preparing and developing skills at an ever-increasing pace. Food storage and food production, water procurement, shelter, medical, combatives, tactics and defensive planning, land navigation, bug-out bags, retreat building, strategic relocation, and the list goes on. But there's one component in preparedness planning that is probably the most overlooked of all: communications. I'm John Jacob Schmidt from Radio Free Readout. We're going to introduce you to the world of communications for those of you who aren't very familiar with it. If you do have some type of communications plan for yourself, your family, or your group, we're going to show you ways to increase your capabilities and your effectiveness. We're going to introduce you to communications from the perspectives of preppers, patriots, redoubters, and partisans. First, ask yourself this question: if it all went down tomorrow, how would you stay informed? How would you stay connected? How would you pass information to others? How would you contribute to your family, your group, and your community? Don't answer yet. Just sit back and watch. This is John Jacob Schmidt. out.
I'm sure you guys know things have gotten pretty bad. A lot of our friends are relocating to their retreats. In fact, a lot of them left 2 or 3 weeks ago. My wife and kids have already relocated. I know they're safe because I was able to keep track with them using the PrepperNet. More about that in a little bit. I stayed behind to get some things taken care of, and tonight I'm going to head out. I got everything packed, including my power supply for radios. I've got my COMMS bag with me, and I also have my COMMS plan with all the frequencies I need for my trip. Well, I'm about 2 hours out from my final destination. I've been driving all night. The sun is coming up right now, which is a welcome sight. AMRON operators. AMRON, the American Readout Radio Operators Network, and the Channel 3 project. They have been so supportive, and they've been passing messages to my family, letting them know I'm en route and that I'm safe.
AMRON members are generally in two different categories. They are either hams or they are non-ham relays. Now, of course, ham operators are expected to act as relays. They are the link between the ham world, the licensed amateur radio operators, and the non-ham world. And as a ham operator receives information over the ham radio frequencies, he will turn right around and relay that information at designated times on designated channels over the CH3 channels, keeping the non-hams informed so everyone is in the loop as far as information and intelligence. Now, there are non-ham AMRON operators. They aren't licensed, but what they do is they monitor either on a ham radio that they don't talk on, but of course in a real-world emergency, you can talk on ham radio without a license if there's a life-threatening situation. But someone who is not licensed, they might monitor on their police scanner where they can listen to the local ham radio traffic. And then, of course, they will also monitor sometimes the HF or shortwave radio with single sideband capability. So they are not licensed hams, but they are monitoring and receiving information and then relaying that back out on CB or FRS or MERS. And some of them, multiple types of radios. Also, the relay and the ham, it can work both ways. So they might receive information from their local area on CB radio, and that relay will turn back around and relay that information to the ham operator, who can then send that information and that intelligence out across the network to other communities and even other states.
It's about time.
Panel mode.
What am I gonna do? Dad.
Food. First aid. Yes. Thank goodness.
Batteries? Radio batteries. Awesome. Cool. Okay. Food. Oh, good. Thanks, Dad. Hello? Hello? Is anybody there? Okay. All right. Think I get it. Readouter X-ray. This is readouter November Papa. Can you hear me?
This is Readouter Hotel 77, November Papa. What can I do for you?
I'm stranded. I've been out here for hours. I'm miles away from home. I don't know what to do. My car's broken down. I don't know what's wrong with it. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm cold. I don't know what to do.
Okay, but you're okay, right?
I hope so. I think so.
Well, it seems like you do know what to do, otherwise you wouldn't be talking to me. Can you tell me where you are? You must be fairly close.
Highway 57.
Oh, well, you're not probably 10 minutes from us. Why don't I come and get you, and Ma can make you some hot soup while we figure out something to see if we can contact home.
Okay, thank you so much.
Roger, we'll be there in just a few minutes. November Papa, this is Hotel 77, clear. Readouter Hotel 77.
Is that you coming up right behind me?
Yes, Hotel 77, right behind you. This is my wife, Jean.
Hi, here. Have something warm.
Oh, thank you so much.
Come on, Gina.
You must be freezing. Come on in.
I am. Thank you guys so much.
The Amron operators that are ham operators that participate in the regularly scheduled nets understand that there's a trade-off to practicing communications in peacetime. But practicing now is critical, because if you do not practice with your equipment now, become familiar with that, work out the bugs. Like some folks who only plan on purchasing the equipment, then hiding it away, then when some sort of event happens, they plan on pulling it out and plugging it in and talking on it. And they just simply will not be able to communicate with anyone else. They don't realize how naive they are. As experienced ham operators can attest, there is quite a process to becoming familiar with your equipment and bugs and things that you didn't anticipate, cables that you didn't realize that you needed. There are special tones and codes to look up that you need to download and access on the internet, so you can incorporate that into your radio programming so it will work. Now, of course, during these regularly scheduled nets, they use their FCC call signs during peacetime on ham radio. You never want to use your Amron or your ARN code name over ham radio. And likewise, you never want to use your FCC call sign over any of the CH3 channels or the non-ham communications.
My dad always was into the radios, and he's got so many stuff downstairs. I don't know what's what, and he always taught me about it. And thank goodness he sends me with a radio. Otherwise, I don't know what I would have done out there.
Well, that's great. He's really thinking ahead. Do you know what his call sign is? We might be able to call him on HF.
I don't know what HF is, but I know he has all the instructions on the paper he gave me in my pack.
Did he? Let's see what he put down there. Maybe we can contact him.
That'd be awesome.
The Amron membership, or the American Readout Network membership, is a listing of both hams and non-hams, people that describe themselves as redoubters. Join the ARN, and they're on a directory. It's anonymous, it's free, and it has a directory so that you can see other like-minded people living in your vicinity. Right at the beginning of the year, in 2014, Tapern merged with Amron. And Amron, originally designed to be a American Redoubt communications network, has since gone nationwide. And Tapern, which is the American Prepper radio network, they handled a lot of prepper communications between preppers and patriots along mostly the East Coast and the South. And so we had a meeting in the middle we called Operation Golden Spike. And that's where Amron, mostly in the western United States, began linking with the primarily East Coast preparedness network to join one network of like-minded communicators. That became the Amron and Tapern merger, and of course has since become just simply Amron.
Amron Whiskey 7 QRZ. Amron Whiskey 7 QRZ. This is Amron operator Hotel 77. Amron operator Whiskey 7 QRZ. Whiskey 7 QRZ. This is Amron operator Hotel 77. I read you loud and clear. Do you have a daughter named Nicole? She's here with me, and she is warm and safe this afternoon, thanks to Amron. Roger, I'll let you say hi to her.
Hi, Dad. Yes, I'm safe. It's okay. Okay.
Amron Whiskey 7 QRZ. This is Hotel 77. Yes, she's fine, and she's able to stay with us for as long as you like. I think we're about 150 miles from you, roughly, and we can make arrangements to get her home in the future. But she's welcome to stay here as long as she'd like. Over.
Yeah, we'll break it down. Of course, this is just an overview, but it's a pretty good overview. There are several components to the communications plan. There's CH3 or Channel 3 project. There's Amron, Tapern, and Radio Free Redoubt rebroadcasting stations. All of it falls under the umbrella of Amron, the American Redoubt Radio Operators Network. In a real-world emergency, ham operators typically have the corner on the market for intel, for information being passed back and forth. That leaves, historically, non-hams out of the loop, unless they've gone through the trouble of and built monitoring ham traffic into their commo plans using scanners and shortwave radios. Then the shortwave radios need to be single sideband capable. So Amron and CH3, the CH3 program, is designed to connect hams with non-hams using ham operators and non-hams acting as relays. So information flows both ways so that non-ham operators can actually be part of the process and send information up the chain to ham operators who can then disseminate it widely. This was originally designed as a network to keep the American Redoubt connected in a down situation between groups and even communities. But since then, it's gone nationwide with pre-scheduled practice nets taking place across the country on a regular basis. Now, keep in mind, this is a standardized communications plan for communications among like-minded people, patriots, preppers, redoubters, etc. Or at least it greatly increases the odds that the person you're talking to is more than likely a friendly. It's part of the weeding out process to help better your chances of avoiding the hostiles and predators in a down situation. Each group should have their own internal communications plans separate from Amron, including cell phones, texting, military field radios, ham radio, GMRS, commercial UHF, VHF radios. The sky's the limit. But to have a standardized communications plan is really critical on a broader level.
When it first started, there were checkpoints and house-to-house raids, military style, but it wasn't the military or the police. They were taking people to the relief centers. I was hearing reports from all over on my CB, FRS, and ham radio. I knew I needed to get the word out. I started typing up spot reports on my laptop. I knew I needed to be ready for the next scheduled transmission time. We had those planned out before all this started.
The first thing we developed back in 2011 was called the CH3 project. Everyone has an FRS radio, it seems. And some people have MERS radios, and a lot of people have CB radios. They're simple to use. They're inexpensive. They don't require a license. They're readily available at pretty much any sporting goods store, truck stops, box stores, Radio Shack, wherever. And just about everyone has an FRS radio, the family radio service. Now, it is misleading. The range that some of the packaging claims, 15, 20, 25, 30 mile range, it's just not the case. But they're great for short range communications like vehicle to vehicle or patrolling on your property, or when you just need communications up to just a mile or two away in most terrain. Well, this began from a prepper network in the American Redoubt who agreed to develop a commo plan to link up with for mutual support while they are bugging out and traveling. Now, there are national emergency channels on the CB radio, Citizens Band Radio. Channel 9 is the nationally designated emergency hailing channel, Channel 9 on CB. FRS is Channel 1. But Channel 1 is also the recommended hailing distress frequency used by CERT, the Civilian Emergency Response Teams, that work very closely with the Department of Homeland Security. Then, of course, MERS radios, the multi-use radio service, does not have a nationally designated emergency frequency, and Marine VHF is Channel 16. They're really all over the place. Now, in this preparedness network several years ago, some of them agreed that we'll all meet on Channel 3 on our FRS radios. Well, several people said, we only have a CB radio, while a couple of members had both FRS and CB radios. Some of them had the MERS radios because they were using the Dakota Alert motion sensors that come with the transceiver that's already has the MERS channels built into it. The general agreement, the consensus was, we'll all just remember, so we can all just remember one thing, Channel 3. And so it became a standard among a prepper network that actually was folded into the what would become AMRON.
There were 2 or 3 AMRON operators picking up my spot reports. They'd send it back out, and it was spreading like wildfire, mostly on the Channel 3 frequencies. I had been an AMRON operator before all this started. A friend of a friend had introduced me. We had these set up, predetermined transmit times ready in case something like this happened.
One of the first things that was developed was a standardized plan to be able to use the radios on pre-designated channels at pre-designated times and in a way that is mindful of power conservation with the stored power in the batteries, making those last longer. So we came up with the CH3 program 321. So you turn it to channel 3, attempt to make contact for 2 minutes every 1 hour at the top of the hour. 321. Channel 3, transmit for 2 minutes, and you do that every 1 hour on the hour. One of the things that's concerning is contacting someone who you don't know. And when you need to contact and reach out for help, but you want to try to minimize contact with hostile elements, you obviously, whenever you can, want to try to get a hold of somebody that's like-minded. And how do you do that, or how do you at least increase the odds of that? So we developed a protocol for contacting unknown parties. At any other time, when you make a radio call, you would use either your ARN, your American Redoubt Network code name or call sign, or your AMRON code name, and you would use that code name or that call sign as your call sign when you are operating on the CH3 frequencies. But if you need to contact someone that you don't know, but you need help, you are in distress, and you need to call for help, and you want to try to do everything you can to make sure that this is going to be a friendly, then you always precede the call signs, or yourself and the party that you're trying to make contact with the word redoubter. And of course, redoubt is a safe haven, refuge, protected place, and defensible position. So this is where the term redoubt came from. Redoubter X-ray. X-ray is always the unknown variable. If you're trying to reach a party that you do not know, and you're calling for anyone who will answer and anyone who will listen, you just automatically assign that unknown party X-ray until you find out that they have a different call sign. The ham operators are familiar with this, the term CQ. CQ, CQ, CQ might be a typical way to call out on the radio when you are just asking for anybody who might be listening. With the CH3 project, it's much the same, except we use the term or the call sign X-ray for the unknown party. Always want to precede your call sign and their call sign with redoubter, especially in your initial communication link up. So you would call out redoubter X-ray. This is redoubter. Use your code name. For John Schmidt, it might be Juliet Sierra. If your name is Jim Andrews, you would use this is redoubter Juliet Alpha.
I was worried I could get caught. I tried moving around so I wouldn't get pinpointed. I'd often transmit as I was driving down the highway. I knew where most of the checkpoints were with all the communications that had come in. If I did find myself in a checkpoint, I had a plan. I was going to tell them that the laptop and the radio were part of my husband's work as a contractor. And if I had time before I got up to the checkpoint, I was going to drop the battery down in between the seats, just to be on the safe side. And I did have it password protected.
One very valid question that people ask sometimes is, can these be intercepted? Can they be jammed? Can they be disrupted? The AMRON, the ham communications, CBs, FRS, yes, they can. But don't not have a plan just because they might get intercepted, or they could be jammed, or they could be disrupted. That's not a reason to throw out having any kind of a communications plan at all. You have a plan, and then if you experience disruptions, you adjust to that. But don't use it as an excuse not to have a plan at all. There are many different scenarios where this could be useful to save lives, where some people might not incorporate that into their overall communications and prepping because it could be intercepted or could be jammed, much like the EMP argument.
Was I worried about the bad guys picking up my spot reports? Well, what's worse? The bad guys hearing a few reports of the things that they're doing, or people being blindsided? I knew that lives could depend on these reports, and I had to continue transmitting them.
I just think it's really important that people understand the necessity for planning now, training with the equipment now, building the network now, and becoming proficient in that. So that when it counts, we're not fumbling and stumbling. The information can begin flowing immediately. And that will be really important right up on the front end. The initial onset of some triggering event. The quicker that we can get like-minded people in communication with each other, the quicker that we can restore some level of normalcy. And one of the things that troubles me about the prepper community is that they often plan for the event, and that's as far as their mind will allow them to plan. There will be a rebuilding. There will be an afterward.
Well, we've been studying this stuff and prepping and doing all these things for a long time. But when it went down, it still kind of takes you by surprise. And so we kept thinking, maybe we should bug out now, and because it's like less than an hour to a retreat property. So after a couple days, we said, well, okay, let's go. So we packed up, and then just before we left, I started thinking, well, we don't really know what's out there, what's been going on. So what we did was we got into our, you can see our piece of equipment here. And prior to this going down, we had got in on what's called Amron and Amron nets and so forth, was the communication setup, for emergencies. So just before we left, we went ahead and we fired up our little computer here and just to see if there's something wrong. Wow, the blood just about drained out of my whole head, because there it was sitting right there, text out. It said that people have been stopping at this roadblock about 5 miles on our main route, and I just sat there staring at it for 5 minutes, and then I started to say, wait a minute, I have an alternate plan. And so without the Amron deal, we would have driven right into that roadblock. And so anyway, here we were, and we're sneaking on these back roads. It probably took us about 4 or 5 hours to get to our retreat, because we had to take all these little side roads and practically deer trails and everything. But we had a good little rig to do it with, and fortunately that was running good. But at one point, we got up, there was another roadblock that we hadn't even known about, and we started watching it with a pair of binoculars, and they had some guys, they looked like guardsmen, but we really weren't quite sure. And then people would come along, and they'd flag them over there, and they'd talk to them for a few minutes, and next thing you know, they'd take their bags from them, and they had them on the ground, and they zip tied their hands behind their back, and then they didn't really hurt them, but they were handling them pretty rough. And then they went through their bags and any weapons and stuff. They had a little trailer behind they had a couple of trucks there, these guardsmen, and they started, they put all their weapons in there. They didn't just throw them in, they stacked them in there. And next thing you know, it looked like they had a full truck. We must have watched them for about 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. And then the truck looked like it was loaded. Another truck showed up, and an empty truck, and the one that had the people in it, they took off. They went, some, we don't know where they went. We hope, and pray that, they're going to be all right. And then we continued on our way, and we got to one point, and there seemed to be more houses around. And we ran into this group of people, and they had a roadblock set up, and we thought, wow, this is it, because we had just come around a curve, and we just drove right into them, and almost on top of them. There's no way to back out. And then I looked in my rearview mirror, and there was a couple guys walked out on the road, and they had weapons similar to this one here, and I thought, boy, this is the end of the line for us. And it turned out they were Patriot type people. We talked to them, and over a few minutes, we mentioned to them about Amron, and they said they were familiar with it, and that's one of the reasons why they were watching their own road in their own community. And they asked us if we needed anything. We said no, and so we just need to get where we're going. And they said okay, and they let us get through. And so, but without the Amron deal, we would have been in that roadblock, and we would have been in a world of hurt.
Amron saved our life, definitely.
What's called digital communications in the radio world is something that's very widely used. And this is very similar to your cell phone, for example, and texting. Because being able to send text messages over radio, whether you use CW, which is Morse code, or some other type of phase shift keying or radio teletype, basically all those are different ways of sending words, text, over radio. And so when you are sitting on a mountaintop a long ways away from the nearest cell phone tower and you have your cell phone there, you may be down to one bar. Sometimes the bar disappears and then you all of a sudden you have one bar again. You can't make a phone call. It keeps saying call lost. The signal, the bandwidth of a voice communication over the airwaves is very wide and it requires a lot of power to drive that signal. But you can type up a text message, hit send, and it goes right through. It's because the digital side uses very narrow bandwidth and it requires very little power to push it way farther than it does voice. And so the AMRON operators, the radio operators, are using a lot of digital communications when you have weak or poor band conditions or when you have to send information a longer distance. These are basically a way using a small laptop to send text messages connected to your radio in just quick bursts. And so it can be very helpful in eliminating your signal, your footprint. More difficult to use, radio direction finding technology to pinpoint your location. It just helps. On top of that, if you send a voice message across the radio, everybody and anybody can hear what you're saying, that you're going to meet the Joneses at such and such an intersection, such and such a time. But if you send that message digitally, you have to have specialized equipment to be able to intercept and understand that. Again, it's another layer in the security process for secure communications. It doesn't make it completely secure because there are government entities, and then, of course, there are other ham operators or experienced communicators could also receive this. But typical Joe Dirtbag, he's not going to have digital communications capabilities.
After we left the private roadblock, that community, we found ourselves a spot and we called in and we alerted the PrepperNet and let them know about this other roadblock that we hadn't been aware of. It was just our good luck that we happened to come to a open spot on that upper road and saw what was going on. So
one of the things that's so important in a down situation is to make sure that information is accurate, that it is timely, so that the right people can make the most use of it. And so we developed spot reports. And these spot reports are an amalgamation of a couple of different types of, if you see some type of information that could be useful, how to report that. This helps avoid all of the vague reports that could come in saying, yeah, I saw an MRAP driving down the road. And that's the whole report. So this is a format, you can print it out, and it's a guide to help you report information. The who, what, where, when, why, how many, who are you? What did you see? Where did you see this? What was the direction of travel? What time did this take place? How many individuals were involved? How many vehicles were there? What was the time and date of this? Is this fresh information or is it old? What was the disposition of this? Did they drive away? Did they interact with you? Did you get documentation? Did you take photographs? Did you draw a sketch? Did you write down a bumper number or license plates or a badge number or a name of someone that you overheard? So as much information as you can get, the better. And these spot reports are used by ham operators and relays, and just all the eyes and ears of the Patriot and Prepper and Redoubter community to help with that information, disseminating that information.
Once we got to our retreat, what we did is we set up our own equipment, and because we didn't know exactly what was going on, and after seeing that there was actually some sort of organized, possibly military, we didn't want to have a locator spot us. So what we did is we set up portable units. And what we would do is we'd go a few miles away from our permanent location, send our messages out, and then get back to where we would go, back to our own place. And as soon as we sent our message, we zipped it out, then we would boogie back to our own place and get out of that area.
One common argument that we hear from people, typically ones who will not increase their communications capabilities, is the EMP argument, the EMP scapegoat. And they say, well, you know, you people with your communications and all this stuff, what if there's an EMP? Oh, you got a laptop, huh? You're going to use a laptop for digital communications. What if there's an EMP, huh? Well, there's ways to mitigate damage from an EMP. But there's 1,001 other things that can happen in this country besides EMP. Don't use there could be an EMP as an excuse not to do anything or have any other type of communications capabilities beyond your FRS radio or your CB radio.
It's kind of an emotional thing for me. We've been through so much during these hard times, but first of all, I need to lay a little history on you. Years ago, my husband got involved in ham radio, and that was when our boys were very little. And all of us, especially when cell phones became prevalent, it's like, what's with this hobby, you know? We'd be having family time, and he's answering on his radio, and it's like rolling the eyes and everything. And now, looking back, it had to have been a God thing. It's just amazing how things have unfolded, and it was just meant to be. I'll let my husband tell you what happened when it first started.
Yeah, I remember we were sitting in our living room reading, and all of a sudden we got a call on the radio from a young girl that was in distress. She was broke down by the side of the road, and she was calling on her radio, and we got the call, and I was able to go out and pick her up on the side of the road and bring her home. She ended up staying with us for quite some time. We ended up being able to contact her father, who was also a ham radio operator, and thank goodness that he had the insight to provide a go bag and instructions and everything on how to use her radio. And she called, and I picked up the call and went and picked her up on the side of the road. We brought her home, and she stayed with us for about a month during the difficult times.
It was actually longer, huh?
Was it?
It
longer than that?
was actually longer than that, and it turned out to be such a good thing, because it wasn't just us helping her out. She gave so much in return, and we've just become so close to her.
So close, yeah.
And I know it's going to be a lifelong relationship. You know, and we think of her as family.
Yeah, thank goodness for Amron and the efforts that have gone into promoting Amron and Channel 3 program. We were able to make contact with her parents and get her home through the use of amateur radio and the Channel 3 project. So, and we've developed a relationship. We talk to her parents and that quite often now, and hopefully we'll see more of Nicole. So.
And this is only one story. I mean, there have been so many others, but you always remember the first, with clarity. Yeah. But it's, I don't know where we'd be without communication.
Communications are so important. Well, it was a God thing that somebody was able to hear her call for distress, because she was on a very desolate portion of the highway. It was snowing. The weather was terribly cold, and had nobody heard her, it could have been days before anybody discovered her. As it was, she was just on the side of the road for a short while before somebody was able to come to her rescue. So.
And the thing is, every day he'd turn on his radio, and every day, silence, silence. But had he not taken the time to turn that on, what could have happened? You know? So you can't say, you know, it's not important. It is important, because you know, that little, you know, action of just turning on the radio and being there, it made all the difference. So
yeah, looking back, it was
a God.
It was a God thing. We really believe that, and you know, it's comforting to be able to feel like you can do some good. The Amron network is nationwide, and from what I understand, they have nets nationwide, and they're trying to promote the Channel 3 project, or had been trying to promote Channel 3 prior to this event. So
thank God for foresight, huh?
Yeah, thank God for foresight. You know, I have been into ham radio for a long time, so I had gotten involved in the Amron program and downloaded the band plan for a scenario. And we get on the radio twice a day and then monitor some of the other local channels at different times during the day, FRS, MURS, CB, which you know, we want to be able to contribute to anybody locally that may be in distress. So, but had it not been for the Amron band plan that told me what times to get on the radio, I probably wouldn't have ever found out about it. Wouldn't have known about Nicole being stranded out there. Would have missed her call.
And thank God that her dad was on board.
Yes.
You know, most girls in a situation like that, they wouldn't have had the go back. And with her dad, and I know how young kids are, especially girls. It's like, oh, Dad, you know, I'm growing up now. I can take care of myself. But no matter how grown up you are, you better be prepared. Yeah.
I'm sure she felt very much alone on the side of the road.
Oh.
And when she heard a helpful voice come over the radio, she was relieved.
Well, she shared that moment with us, remember? And she how frightened she was, and it's like, Dad. And she said she went to her trunk, and there was that backpack.
Yep.
And she said that she went back in the car and she's looking through it, and there's food and there's a gun, a loaded gun, and she thought, oh, Dad, you know, thank God, you know. And then she found the radio, and she remembered, although she didn't pay that much attention, it was part of her life, and even though you're not really paying attention, you kind of soak that up, and she knew what to do. She knew what to do. Yeah. So many people, if I only would have known, we've seen it coming for years, and the time to prepare isn't after it's happened. You know, I wish people would have opened their eyes. I wish people would have taken it seriously, and they could have saved so much grief.
There's another small program that is going to be developed in 2014 and expanded upon, and we want to fully develop the rebroadcasting station program, and we call these Radio Free Readout rebroadcasting stations. There are commercially available FM and AM transmitters that transmit in the commercial AM and FM bands. This is similar to a home that you would see for sale with the sign that says, tune in to 91.5 to hear more about this house. And you're sitting there in your car on your FM dial, and you turn it to 91.5, and then you're hearing the realtor on a pre-recorded message saying how many rooms there are in this home, and this is the square footage. And as you drive away, you get about a block down the road, and it starts getting scratchy, and then you get 2 or 3 blocks. You can kind of still make it out, and then pretty soon it fades away, and he's gone. These are very low power, 500 milliwatt, half a watt FM transmitters that transmit on the commercial bands. As I said, there's commercially available transmitters that have adjustable power settings on those. And we have rebroadcast stations across the country on AM and FM. And they will rebroadcast Radio Free Redoubt once a week. And we've had several, actually, that have gone beyond that. And they will download previous podcasts, and they'll have other audio files and things like that that they can broadcast throughout their neighborhoods or their communities. And then, of course, during peacetime, they're doing this on a regular basis. It's a lot of fun. It's like having your own small little listening audience in your neighborhood. And they actually have people tuning in and listening regularly. Now, in a real world grid down situation, the commercial radio stations, within just days or weeks at best, they're going to start disappearing, leaving most of the people in an information blackout. During peacetime, legal limit for FM broadcasting with these little transmitters is 500 milliwatts. That's a half a watt. But you purchase an adjustable wattage for a real situation that you can adjust up to 15, 20, 30, or 50 or 80 watts. Then you have downloaded podcasts, music. The value of that to your community is a very profound psychological aspect to it, because it helps instill in them a sense of community, being connected to the outside world. It adds a great deal of comfort. And this can be used in a collapse or post-collapse or rebuilding area of communications. They can rebroadcast AMRON radio traffic. Many of them have a headset input. So you can also put out public announcements and information to help your community stay informed. And we'd love to have our rebroadcast stations email us in so that we can expand the directory of rebroadcasting stations. Of course, if there's commercial radio stations dropping off, people are going to be searching the dial for any type of voice, any sense of comfort they can get from the radio. And so it won't be hard to find you if the commercial stations are dropping off. So what you can do is you can let them know what town or frequency that you're in. If you are on our directory, they can begin tuning in pre-collapse, and then they know right where to go on the dial post-collapse.
I'm an everyday average person. I'm a single mom who was very concerned because I saw things coming down the pipeline. I saw things coming, things that added up to trouble for me, especially being a single mother, knowing that I was responsible for not only myself but for my daughter, and everything fell on my shoulders. And through several resources, not mainstream media, because they weren't telling people the truth, there were things that got to me. I would think of scenarios that could possibly happen, and I know that we cannot possibly prepare for everything, but I knew that I needed to take action in what I could, and the Lord would help me with the rest. I became a prepper. I started doing the little things that I could, and one of those things was I started talking to my neighbors. Another component to that was I bought a shortwave radio with single sideband, and I started listening to ham operators, specifically AMRON operators, passing information back and forth, and that was very helpful to me. Maybe not so much on all the issues, but it was a comfort knowing that there was a network of people out there that would be there in an emergency situation. There was one particular source that truly encouraged and inspired me as a Radio Free Redoubt, and it was a podcast that I just instantly became a big fan of theirs. They really helped me to put things into perspective, and it made me realize that even though I am an everyday average person that it gave me the inspiration to stand up and fight the good fight. One thing in specific is Radio Free Readout had a rebroadcast program on a volunteer basis, and I thought that's something I could do. I could do that. So I bought an FM transmitter online, and I put it to use. I would plug that FM transmitter with an audio jack into my computer's headphone jack, and I would rebroadcast Radio Free Readout through my neighborhood. I had some like-minded neighbors, and people actually listened to it on the FM dial, and they really liked it. They appreciated it. I got really good feedback, and it seemed to just give us a sense of togetherness, like we were in this together. It was my neighbors that would that were listening, but what was even greater than that is it had the ripple effect. People talk to other people and encourage each other, especially like-minded people, and it got more people listening to Radio Free Readout. So it was effective in just spreading the word. This was before anything, before the world changed as we knew it. It almost felt like I had my own little radio station. The Amron Operators Network, before the collapse happened, they would do practice nets about twice a month. And when everything happened, they actually went to about 4 times daily for about 2 hours. Every 5 hours or so, they would have nets going on, and sometimes before an Amron operator's net, I would rebroadcast a Radio Free Readout podcast. Before, in our world, we had a lot of noise. There was always some kind of noise going on, and the silence drove me nuts. It was just the comfort of a voice, of music, of reestablishing normalcy.
The one thing that I really...
Hey guys, I'm back. So here's the thing. So we've talked about the Channel 3 project. They've talked about the Black Echo. I'm a Black Echo guy, and I will go through that in just a second. But we're going to get started on the plan. That wasn't all the video. It's just kind of rehashing some at the end. So we're going to just continue to go because some of you guys have questions. We want to kind of reveal kind of this isn't a detailed plan. They're actually kind of doing that, but this is kind of this is a lay person that is not a digital guy yet, but I do have I have my DRM, which some people don't. I won't make fun of them, but I don't do JS call or anything like that yet. I am actually getting ready to learn all that. So with that said, I want to go through a couple slides and show you guys kind of what we want to do. Amron has kind of built this, but they haven't built it like we're going to build it. We've got way more people than they do. I hope everyone can hear me. Say yes in the chat room that I sound lovely tonight. That you can hear me. So we're gonna go through a few slides here, and you know what? There's a lot of experts in there, and sometimes ham people disagree, and that's why we are going to produce exactly what you need. So let's do this. This is good. So currently, right now, in your town, USA, this is your city. Sounds lovely. Oh, I love you guys. You guys are so sweet. So you got your town USA. You got people with Baofeng radios. You got some FRS radios. You've got some shortwave radios. You've got some Icon radio. All these people are in a town, and they don't communicate with each other. I would bet that 70 to 80% of the people here on this call have at least a Baofeng radio. I just know that you guys have probably got them. And so, but how do you communicate? You haven't even, some of you guys haven't even released them yet. I mean, like transmitted on them. So in our plan, this is kind of what we want to accomplish is we're going to institute the Channel 3 project. So that's FRS, GMRS, if that is, if that is, whatever you're on, we're going to institute or to train you guys on how to use the Channel 3. That is just antenna to antenna, someone down the street, and you can talk to them. You'd be amazed in some locations where you can do that. So this is one area that everyone can participate in. You can have a Channel 3 and a FRS, your Belframe, your Icon, your Yaesu, whatever it is, and transmit and see who can hear you. Now, I'm a Black Echo guy. So imagine as a Black Echo that I can transmit to everyone in this screen right here. So you see this? I can transmit to every single person in that area. I live outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. I have a Black Echo. I've had it for years. I can put up the antenna, start transmitting on FM radio, just in your car. Your Belfang radios have an FM receiver. Your shortwave radios can pick up just standard FM. I can transmit to over 1.5 million people in the Charlotte area. That's a lot of people. I get my antenna high enough. Now, is it trackable? All these people, you guys are so worried about trackable. I mean, you know what? If and ands were candy and butts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. But I mean, holy cow. There's so many conspiracy theories and gosh, everyone's afraid of the government. Trust us, when we're using this stuff, the government will not be operational in the point that they can anyway, I won't get on that tangent. But anyway, I can transmit to everyone in the Charlotte area on FM. You guys, you have your little Belfangs or ICOMs or whatever, you can talk to each other through your Channel 3 programs, FRS, GMRS. But here, we're going to train you and teach you how to do that. And then we're going to run exercises throughout every city that we have. Okay. So that's the Channel 3 project. We will have a document for everyone on Channel 3 project coming soon. Next is every PrepperNet city needs a comms leader. Now, this comms leader, we would love it if they were HF and they were proficient with HF and comms. They don't have to be, though. You could just have the desire. We would so if you're in a city, go to your city leader and say, hey, who's our comms leader? Well, we don't have one. Well, I have just got my technician. You can still be the comms leader. We can work with you and train you. We've got experts that can help you. Okay, so imagine now that we have a comms leader in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we're doing 2-meter nets or probably 2-meter or 70 centimeter nets. And all of a sudden now, all these little devices can talk together. So that's the reason we do Zello Night, because Zello Night works exactly like a ham net works. We kind of treat it almost the same. There's a little differences where you got to use your call sign. But now you guys are so used to doing Zello, getting on ham is going to be a piece of cake. Everyone's always afraid to do that first transmit. That's why you need a friend or someone to help you. That first and once you do it, then it's no problem. But we need a comms leader. That leader will then help train people in the Channel 3 program. Also can help possibly with a 2-meter net. We have cities that do 2-meter nets all the time. And that means all these little handheld radios and home radios, base stations, they could all usually get into a 2-meter net in a city, in a big city. So imagine that. So now we've got this entire city. Well, one, we can get information to you through Black Echo, or we have a 2-meter net that can also get information and you can communicate back out. Then also we have the Channel 3 project. All of a sudden now we're building a web in the Charlotte metro area where all comms people, everyone that has a comms, a radio, we can communicate with each other. So there's 3 kind of methods there. There's actually a fourth where we can transmit through, our HF. You can receive it through a shortwave radio, connect it to your computer, and get text messages. So there is so much to learn. Don't be afraid of this, guys. Whatever node on this network you want to be it. At least learn how to do it. If you just want to have do the Channel 3 project and maybe you can connect with people, maybe you can't, that's fine. At least you're trying to learn how to use it. If you want to connect to the 2-meter net, if you want to be a city leader, everyone has a role. Every person has a role here. Every single, we have over, I don't know how many, over almost 300 people at one time, over 300 people at one time. Everyone has a role. Everyone needs their comms, their even their little radio to even do an HF. Okay, so everybody's got that. So now we build this net over, we're just using Charlotte, North Carolina, over Charlotte. And we can get information to you several different ways, and we can get information from you several different ways. That is creating a redundant type of net. Now, go ahead. I'm waiting for someone in the chat room goes, well, what if there's an EMP? Okay, you didn't put your stuff in a Faraday cage and protect it. Too bad. You won't have communications now. And the saying is one is none and two is one. So you got to have multiple of these devices. So that's Charlotte, North Carolina. Everyone can agree. We have created a way to create a web, a net over Charlotte, North Carolina. That really isn't Charlotte, but y'all give me a thumbs up. Y'all can see how we can do that, because we can do this in every city, and even small cities. Sometimes smaller cities are even easier. So if you can see and understand, go, yes, this can be done. We can do this. Tell me that in the chat room. Go and Zello is also yes. Okay, yep. Okay, people are saying it. I'll say let's keep going. So see this little web that I've created over Charlotte, and the 4 different types of ways that we can actually communicate. And all you got, sometimes you just want to listen. You might not want to talk. Okay, great. So check this out. So imagine now we do this in all the cities and neighborhoods throughout the United States. See the little spider webs? And so all the cities have 4 different ways through Black Echo, and through Channel 3 program, through 2-meter nets, through shortwave, listening to shortwave, either by digital or voice. So there are each one of these nets, each one of these spider webs that you see have many different ways to connect to each other. So how do we connect the bigger picture? So imagine all these cities, and we have this now. They do a net in Asheville. They were doing one in Tennessee and in different areas that we've been doing these nets. So check this out. Now, you remember we had a city comms leader, because we don't need just one, we need several. But imagine now we got all the city comms leaders, and they can transmit through like a relay system, through even DMR, HF, and all of a sudden they can get the messages to everywhere that needs to go. We have Amron people in PrepperNet throughout the United States. And so imagine now this network of all the city leaders. These aren't all the cities, because some of the cities can connect to each other. So we have a group in Albemarle, we have a group in Mooresville, we have a group in Rock Hill. All of them can, I know they can connect to the big antennas here in Charlotte. So their 2-meter nets could actually be a part of the Charlotte net. So imagine now these city leaders, you got to have a little bit more experience to be a city leader that is actually transmitting on HF radio and doing like JS call and stuff like that. But we're going to have them throughout the United States. Now look at this next photo, if you don't mind. Now, not only from a micro level, from a city, from a community in the Channel 3 project, to a city using the Channel 3 and the 2-meter and the 70 centimeter repeaters, because a lot of our people have their own repeaters too. I have a repeater that it's a 2-meter repeater I can throw up. Now it's just it's the cheapest way you can do it, but it works. But now imagine we have an entire net over the United States coming from CH3, 2-meter, 70 centimeter, shortwave to Black Echo to DMR possibly in the future, because I'm learning DMR. I got my DMR. I just want to give a shout out to Bravo 65 and Patrick, because they don't have their DMRs yet, and I've got one, so I am the man. So I'm so far behind them and everything, but I'm ahead of them now in one thing. So and now in a network of the entire PrepperNet University right there, the universe right there, that's what our goal is. And everyone has a part to be in that. And I am committed. So the last 2 years, I've been learning privacy and security under one of the most a genius guy, top of the field when it comes to privacy and security. I've been reading books. I've been going through classes. I've been on phone calls. I've spent 2 years learning everything I can in privacy and security. And what I determined is it's an ongoing thing. You can never get to a point and go, I'm done. So, but now I'm going to be focused on HF and DMR over the next year. That's my 2 goals. I've already reached out to an Elmer. An Elmer is someone that trains you. He has already told me everything I needed to order. I already had the radio. I just needed some patch cables and some other things. And so, hey, that's what I'm doing. I challenge every one of you guys to go through this with us. So if you understand the micro network to community, to city, to maybe state, to nation, and how we can do this, tell me in the chat room, say, I get it. This is what we need to do. I want to see you guys. I want to make sure you guys are on board. We have right now 269 people, and that is where you guys are located. I mean, we could pull this off easily with just the people in the chat room. So if you guys understand and you want to be a part of this, and you go, hey, you know what? I don't know anything about my radio, or I know a little bit, but I can be a part of this. I can help in some way. Just say, hey, I'm on board. I get this. We need to do this. Okay. I'm on board. We need to do that. Yes. Thank you, Larry, my city leader from Northeast Tennessee. And yes, got it. Count me in. I mean, men, women, and children alike. I'm on board. We can do this. And to be honest with you guys, Amron, they are the experts. Let's just be real. They are the experts. We have many. Matter of fact, the next question is, if you're an Amron member or a core member, in the chat room, just say Amron. Just all you got to do is all we need to know. Just say Amron. And that way we know everyone can see how many really experts we kind of have on there. And there's some people that aren't in Amron that are experts as well. But we can do this. Amron, bravo. Yeah, Amron, Dave. Yeah, look at all these people in Amron. Yeah. So guys, we've got the expertise to do this. So here's the scary thing. If we do this right, and we're all committed to do this, we could build a net that could be beneficial for the entire United States, because I'm going to share the information I get with my neighbor and with my group. And if we do this right, and we're sharing information and we're relaying good intel to we'll say Patriot, to the preppers, then, oh my gosh, how beneficial could that be in any type of a grid down or any type of, be the absolutely communication piece in America. Now, we may even pass Amron here soon in members and people participating, and I would love that. JJS would love that. He would absolutely love that, and we're using his information. He's on board. We're not trying to separate from him. So let's keep going. I got one more slide. I want to show you our goals. I want you guys to kind of get behind this, if you don't mind. So our goals are at PrepperNet, 1, to get everyone to the next level. Next level means if you have no license, we want you to get a license, technicians. If you have a technician, we want you to get general, and so on. If you have a general, why not get an expert? If you've never transmitted, we want you to transmit. If you've never been on a 2-meter net, we want you to be on a 2-meter net. If you've never done a channel 3 call on FRS, GMRS, or any of them, then we want you to do the next level. Will y'all agree to do that? If everyone takes their game up just imagine the confidence and the skills that we will get from just the 160 people that are online. Okay, some people, you know what, I'm just going to hide from this channel. I'm about sick of people that we're partnered with Amron. If you don't like Amron, then you might not want to be participating with PrepperNet. I'll just say that. JJS and I are good friends, and what they're doing there is not like no other thing out there. So anyway, you can say bye-bye to whoever that was. We're partnered with them. We're not going back, and we're brothers, JJS and I. And what they're doing is amazing. So I don't want to hear any negative crap about that. The next thing is we want to find and train city leaders to run nets, local, and implement the Channel 3. So every single one of you guys have the skills to be a city leader. We would rather you have more skills, but if no one steps up, just step up, and you can do this. Okay. So every city needs to have a comms guy. We want them to be HF. We would really like them to be Amron, but it's not a perfect world, and we understand that. So everyone commit that, hey, if your city doesn't have one, I'll be it. I'll learn. We got Bravo. We got Patrick. We got a ton of people that will help you all the way through that. We'll have documentation. Matter of fact, I think Patrick's already put some documentation out there for, and I'm going to bring them on in I am literally like 2 minutes from bringing them on. And then we want to roll out and train members in the city in a Channel 3 project. This is nationwide. We want everyone to understand the Channel 3 project. And then we want to create a national HF backbone, which we've done that before. It died because no one was using it. And now we're getting it back up. And this is like, it's there. We can use it. We can get information out. And imagine now, if everyone does this, in here, the 160 some people, if we're all on this and we're committed to this, imagine how that will help our travel program when people are traveling and they get stranded in areas. Imagine how that's going to help our PrepperNet emergency response team when there's a hurricane that goes through Lumberton, North Carolina, and floods are everywhere, and we have people around there that know how to communicate and get the information out. We will make a difference in people's lives. I promise you. That's the end goal. So at this time, I'm going to bring in here Bravo 65, and I'm going to bring in here Patrick. Are you guys there?
We're here.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to put you guys. Okay. So Patrick, or I'll start with you, Bravo. This is a plan that we can do, even people that have never taken their Baofeng radio out, correct?
Indeed. Very easy. Channel 3 project. If you go to amron.com, it lays out all the frequencies for each channel and also lays out the times to get on that will give you the best chance of reaching someone on each of those channels. So even at the simplest form, which is the Channel 3 project, you have all your information you can go grab from Amron.com.
We're actually going to have our own that we'll put out to people as well. But yes, you can go to Amron and get it. It's going to be the same. Ours is just going to be kind of tailored towards PrepperNet a little bit. Okay. But we will have them documents. Go to Amron. I don't care. They're going to be the same thing. Ours are going to be just tailored. So any comments on the net? Did I do that a good visual of that for that's a non-nerd guy like most of you guys, tinfoil hat guys?
Yeah, I think it was very well done. It just showed out how you can, take it from your local where you are and, using certain things, whether it be CB radio, whether it be your Baofeng, your little FRS radios, whatever it may be, your short waves and all the way up to your large HF radios, and creating that web where we can start in local at a small area and extend that to get all the information we need from the large area. So I think that was well represented in those slides.
Awesome. I didn't want your approval because I knew between you and Patrick, y'all would have all these things you want me to change. So Patrick, you here?
Yes, I'm here.
So Patrick, you've been doing some like SOPs, I guess, or
Yeah,
SOI.
I've been writing a bunch of documentation. A lot of it's not been made public yet because I'm still waiting on a couple of final approvals on how to denote some stuff with Amron. But we're working on some stuff to help folks with everything from, getting local 2-meter nets started, how to talk to repeater owners and, get permission and do all that fun stuff, all the way up to our plan with how that we are going to interface with Amron during normal, shall we say, peacetime, but also in emergency situations where that both organizations may have heavy volumes of traffic, and we have to adjust and adapt to those situations. So yeah, we're working on that, working on some stuff to help people who just got started to learn how to program their radios and do that kind of thing. So we've got all kinds of stuff in the works to try to help folks out with that.
So when PrepperNet has failed in comms, it's been, I guess, me, and I am totally committed. I am totally committed. We're going to get this thing working. We need this. People's lives could be on the line in the future that we could actually help. And I just want to throw this at people that are that are here. Y'all might not know this, but a few years ago, we actually worked with Amron and with Forward Observer, and we were saving lives by getting intel. Amron was sending it to Forward Observer. Forward Observer then was getting the information to the Cajun Navy, and they were going to rescue people in Lumberton in that area because that was our assigned area. We've made this work, and we didn't know what the heck we were doing. So, but if you guys have any questions in the chat room, you can start asking them. What you do is you put a bunch of question marks and then your question afterwards. That way we know it's a question. So, Bravo, you are a genius at all things ham radio. So tell everyone, how the information is moved and how it goes from one person to another, kind of like, and we're going to get into the documentation of that when y'all release it, but how people from the lowest to the highest gets information and share information, kind of a summary, kind of.
Okay, yeah, just starting at the beginning, when we activate during any kind of an emergency, we rely on intelligence coming in from all kinds of different sources. And what I mean by intelligence, it could be anything from, hey, this is some kind of movement over here by these people, to just people need help over here and need somebody to get to them. So it could be anything. So those usually come in sometimes during by way of like the Channel 3 project. FRS, GMRS, if somebody's close enough to receive those signals. 2-meter 440 nets that are out there for ham radio. It'll start at that level, and then someone will get it to someone of general class HF privilege, and then we'll start sending that out over HF to larger areas. So it always starts out at the local and then goes up the chain, through HF and broadcast throughout the United States, wherever it may need to go. So, but we're in touch usually with all the different emergency services. A lot of times, working with the, some of the ARES entities and your local emergency management. So we're in touch with a lot of those guys. Sometimes we actually go to the offices and work out of there. Sometimes we just relay information via radio. So we get the word out.
Yep.
Yeah. I saw a question over here just a second ago asking about getting licensed. So to get an amateur radio license, the first step is to study. There's lots of online exam prep things to get your technician class license. And you can go to the ARRL's website and do a search for local testing sites in your area. And you'll find a club that's doing tests. And then you can, sign up, RSVP, do what you need to for that. And then you'll be able to attend that test, and then that's the first step towards getting your license. And GMRS, if you're interested in that, is merely get on the FCC's website, apply for an FRN and a license, give them $70, and they will give you a call sign. So that's kind of the gist of that. And somebody said, how do I find out who my city leader is? Forrest, do you want to take that one?
Well, I will be publishing that list. Or did I already? I may have already on the new site. So that's everyone. All the information on the old site is going to be transferred over to the new site. There should be no reason to go to the old site. But I thought I put that in. I will make sure everyone gets that. I thought I put that somewhere, but I don't know where I put that. So I will. If you join your group on preppernet.net, there should be a moderator. You can search in your group, and then that's your city leader.
Yeah, and anybody new hams or people looking to be new hams, I can't encourage you enough to go to your local ham club. You will find somebody willing to be there to help you every step of the way through whatever it might be. So just you can go online and look up local ham clubs and just go to one of the meetings. They typically have a meeting at least once a month, and just go say, hey, I've been hearing about ham radio. I'd like to get involved, and they'll take you through getting that involved. So that's your first step. Amron is more of an advanced type of communications. We're there to take you from being your normal ham operator to much more skills in digital radio and just everything else you can think of involved with emergency communications. So, but first step, get involved with one of your local ham clubs and they'll get you going.
Yes, I agree with that. Patrick, what else you got? You got any more questions?
Let's see, I've got one here. When it comes to site-specific OPSEC and comms, is it possible to hook up an antenna to a drone once an hour or so a group can communicate? So you don't have to have an obvious antenna that people can see. Well, that's an interesting idea. The reality is you can hide antennas very, very easily. Antennas do not have to be big and ugly. In fact, HF antennas are very easy to hide. And if you know what you're doing, I want to test how well this works. But you can actually tune up like chain link fences and barbed wire fences and stuff like that and transmit them. I've done it. It doesn't work great, but in a pinch, whatever works, right? So, keep that kind of thing in mind, that you don't have to worry about hiding antennas unless you want to put up something that obviously looks like an antenna. Trees make excellent antenna hiders.
Yeah, my HF antenna is in the middle of the woods.
Exactly.
When it comes to that much security, if you're really, having problems with that much security and, the government's actively pinging or looking for your station, once you transmit for just a few seconds, they're going to know where you are anyway.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
You can actually hide it without some kind of, you would almost have to transmit and then move. Transmit for a few seconds.
Yep.
jump to
Shoot,
another
scoot.
frequency, maybe move to another location real quick, and you would have to just keep bouncing. There's no way to actually perfectly secure your station and not keep them from knowing where you are.
That is so true. Because I mean, ham radio operators all the time do a thing called a fox hunt, where they can literally track down where people are and where they're transmitting from in just a matter of an hour or so. I've even showed people how you can use a Belfing radio. Guys, don't hate me, okay? But you can determine with a Belfing radio and determine and get close to finding someone just with the Belfing radio and receiving their message by putting it against your body and deadening the signal behind you. And as you turn, you can kind of get a better direction, and you move in that direction. Even with a Belfing radio, I could find someone transmitting on another walkie-talkie. So
yep, you just keep deadening the signal until it gets stronger, and you just follow it to that strongest point, and you're there.
Yep. So don't ever think that ham communications is secure, ever. Don't do that. And don't think that, go ahead.
If it transmits, we can find it.
Right.
That's exactly right.
Intentionally or
Especially
not.
AWACS.
And currently it's against the law to encrypt anything that we're really doing right now. But in a grid down, we could use code words. We could use a different type of link. We could use a one-time pad. We can use different items when there's no rule of law. So that's why some of the things that we're going to be teaching, I think in a couple weeks, we're going to be teaching like the one-time pad and how to use that and how to send secret messages, not really over the radio. I'm not going to teach you how to do that, but how to start thinking about secure communications with people other than radios. So
now you can legally encrypt on like FRS and MERS. You can encrypt on those type of channels. You just can't encrypt on ham bands.
Oh, okay.
And right now, the only way to do encryption is on your DMR radio.
Oh, you got yours today too.
No, this is one I've had for years.
Okay.
15 between Motorola's, Radioddities, Titeras. I've been involved with DMR for quite some time.
Okay, I didn't know that. I got my Anytone right here. So
I'm working on the software to plug what's called do the code plug for those.
Okay, awesome. I got the software installed on my computer, ready to go to play with it some this weekend. Other questions? Did y'all see any more questions, Patrick? I know you've been watching. Here's from Todd. Let me go up here. Todd had a question about Belfing radios. Where was that? Here it is. Y'all see it on the screen? Just got some Belfing. What's the best place or way to start learning locally?
I'll take that one.
Okay.
Look up your local ham club and go talk with them. That's probably your best bet. Also, if there's a PrepperNet group in your area that has a comms leader, go see them as well. And if neither of those are options in today's really weird world of COVID, where lots of ham clubs are not meeting, watch some videos on YouTube. There's a bunch of great YouTube channels that kind of cover some of that stuff. And we can post some of that stuff on the PrepperNet site as well.
Yes. So here's Philip put this on there, and I do want to make a point for this because I'm a big privacy guy. When you get your license, they're going to ask you for your address. It doesn't have to be your actual physical home address. You can use a post office box. You can just anywhere you can get your mail, because that stuff is public information. So if you go look up my call sign, which is it's W4GAR for Garvin, W4GAR, you can actually see I have a post office box. And guess what? I've got at least 5 or 6 or 7 ham friends that use the same box, because if the mail comes, they'll get it. It's theirs. We kind of share it. And so, but if you just know when you do that, a big privacy guy, some of your privacy is given out when you give them, you get your license, because they want to put your home address on there, and that is public knowledge. So I did want to share that.
Yeah, and also for people looking to program their Baofengs, once you first get them, the best way to look for stuff, there's a thing on here. It's called, if you can see that, radio reference. Let's see, where is it? Right there. RadioReference.com. That's what the little app looks like. That'll give you every repeater within, you can put in so many miles from your house, and it'll show you every ham repeater in your house. And then there's another website called Radio Reference. It will give you all of the emergency and everything around your house.
Yes, that everything you're saying is true, for sure. Here's another question that came up. What's a good starter radio? I keep hearing people talk about the Baofeng. Either one of you.
Depends on budget. If you've got a really tight budget, the Baofeng is probably not a bad way to go. They're not, even close to being the best radios, but they work for what they have. That one I kind of leaned you toward the other day, the Anytone DV878 UV Plus. That one's considered probably one of the best radios on the market, and it's good for advanced as well as beginners. There's a lot, and I mean a lot of information out on the YouTube that'll get you through programming it and, using it very simple. So it's fairly simple to use, but it's also advanced. So if anybody's, they're a little bit more pricey, you're looking at a little over $200, but probably the best radio I think you could probably get for almost any circumstance. It has DMR into it also.
And that's it's called Anytone.
Yeah,
So,
I believe they're
on their website.
So I was thinking they're available on BridgeComm's website.
Yeah.
Correct on that. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, BridgeComm has them in sight. If you try to order it from Amazon, they're out of stock right now. So BridgeComm is the best place to, if you're looking at that particular radio, and that's within your budget, that will do you as a beginner through advanced. So to me, I think it's probably more of the perfect radio for prepping that you could probably get.
Yes, because you can, in a grid down, communicate with people around you in an encrypted way, too.
And battery life. That battery life is incredible on that thing.
So there was a question about have no equipment, starter equipment. Yes, you could get a Baofeng. I would recommend the Anytone, or a lot of people would say Icon. There are a ton of different ones. But let's say you don't want to transmit and you are I'm never going to learn. I hear a question. So I have this item right here. Can y'all see that? This is a shortwave receiver that I can receive even digital on this if I hook this up to a computer. And so I could actually, when Amron has their nets, I could use this to receive their signals and listen into what they're doing. But this can be, this one's $150 or so. But there are shortwave radios, and they're receive only. I can receive. Well, I think I've received not India, England, and Germany, and I think Indonesia. That I've heard. I had channels. Have you guys had any experience just receiving on one of these? You can receive channels around the world.
Yeah, they do. They do actually very well. Especially make sure if you're going to get the shortwave. Typically, you can also order. Some come with, and some you have to order as a long wire antenna that you can stretch out. If you get one of those, that'll really help the signal come in a lot better. So if you decide to go with a shortwave, make sure you get the long wire antenna with it. But yeah, we've gotten stuff from all over other countries through the shortwave.
And so you could still listen with that. And then there's another thing. I mean, you got to be a tech nerd, but it's SDR. You can do the same thing, but you still need the antenna. The antenna is the king on everything, right?
Yep. The better
Antenna's
the antenna,
king.
Yeah. A good antenna will take the place of a low power transmitter and marginal receiver with great performance. So
exactly.
So let me ask you this. If you had a great antenna, like the best of the best, and you put it on a Belfang radio, would that make that Belfang radio like medium, or is it
It'll
still
make it worse. The reason it will make it worse is the Baofangs have a bad problem with receiver overload.
Okay.
And the better antenna is going to bring more signals in, stronger, that are not the ones you want to hear, and they actually make the receivers go deaf. I did a really interesting test on that one day, and yeah, I won't get into that and bore everybody, but
That is
yeah, that doesn't always help.
That is good to know right there. Okay, go ahead. What
I
the
was
heck?
going to say, anybody looking for an antenna for the Baofeng, this one's probably the best one to get. If I can show this on here, it's a very long
yeah
antenna, but it actually folds. Get it to work and make it do it. It actually folds up in 3 different folds. If you can see that thing folding like this, and gets down to that short. But
comes looks like this.
Yeah, those things actually work very, very well.
Yep.
Baofangs. And also you can throw up a J pole. You can actually build them. There's plans on the internet to build those, throw it up in a tree. It's just a wire with a piece of coax attached to it. And that works pretty well too.
I just saw someone ask, is Morse code worth learning? Absolutely. It is an excellent skill to have. And yeah, if you've got the time, I would encourage anybody to learn Morse code, but also don't feel like you're a failure because, you don't know it.
Thank goodness they took that out of the test, though. Whew.
Yeah, and also for people that are not interested in Morse code, some of the software like FL Digi that we run digital, you could put your station and hear Morse code and it'll actually decode it. And as long as you're a ham radio operator, that same software, not even Morse code, I could type in a message to somebody and hit send, and it'll send it out in Morse code.
I do want to say that, guys, if your question is not answered tonight, go into the COMMS channel there in our group and ask the question. And everyone has opinions, but I just how can I say this? Pay more attention to Bravo and Patrick and some of the other guys that we can recommend, because again, people start loving things and their way is the only way. And we want to, PrepperNet's going to have all this information for you. We're going to train you. We're not going to just leave you in the cold. Bravo's going to be on here 24 hours a day to help you.
Indeed. 26 hours a day.
26.
Yes.
Okay. Here is what was this question? It said, what was the long antenna again? What was the name of that one? The flat one that bends out?
These are called the Aubrey. Abbree, Aubrey.
Okay. Oh yeah, someone else asked what the name of it was. Yes, that's what I have.
So, there we go.
On my, yep. On my my chest rig, bulletproof vest, and everything, I have that antenna. This antenna on there, and I have a shorter one than this. But see, this is the antenna, and it folds down, and I have it right there. And so when I need it, I can just go whoop. And it goes up. And this one is actually double this size, like yours. This is the longer one.
And they work very well. Make sure you get the Aubrey brand, Abbree. Those are the best of the those type of antennas.
Yes. And it's a flat antenna, which is pretty cool. Well, it's kind of rounded a little bit like that. Yeah.
I saw someone cut one of those open one day. I think it's actually a piece of a tape measure inside.
Yeah. It's just like a tape measure. You're right.
Yeah, it actually kind of seems like a tape measure almost.
So yours is longer than mine. Mine only folds open once for my package. Yours folds open twice.
Yeah, they've got a couple different ones.
Yeah.
Different things.
Okay.
Somebody just asked, what is a good receive-only radio? The question I would ask is, what do you want to receive? If it's HF, the Sea Crane Skywaves, the Texan PL, I think it's an 880.
Yep, PL 880.
Make sure whatever shortwave radio you get will do single sideband.
Yes.
SSB, because that's what most of the amateurs and that sort of thing are actually listening and transmitting on. And if you're after something as far as like VHF, UHF listen only, Unit and Bearcat, take your pick of what you need. You can get them that just do analog for, $100 or less, all the way up to the fancy close call and everything else ones that are like $500, $600, $700 that do DMR and everything. And it looks like Bravo 65 has got a County Com GP5.
Yeah,
and it's also good.
They're
one of the ones made
price.
famous by one of the ones made famous by the book, the Going Home series. Morgan,
Yes.
He carried one of these little county comms around with him.
And how much are they?
I think they're $89 at the moment.
$89.
Yeah.
So someone asked about scanners, and I have a preference to scanners. I have a Home Patrol 2. Now this thing is not cheap, but it can absolutely you can hear everything in your area. It from almost, I mean, it is the best scanner by far. Would you agree with that?
Totally. It's so easy to use. All you do is plug it in, you put your area code in, and it goes out and finds everything within your thing, and it just works.
Yeah, those things are amazing. I want one.
Yep.
I keep spending all my money on HF radios.
Yeah. They do cost roughly around $500, I think, don't they?
Yeah,
they're expensive, about $500, but I tell you, they're well worth it.
Yep. Then they do have a Uniden. It's called a XT something 75 that has close call. And I know this is kind of crazy for you guys, but close call is a way that any frequency that is transmitted near you, it scans all frequencies, and if one is near you, it pops up and you can listen to it and you can freeze it and see the frequency. So my entire team, our group, when we're doing patrol, we all have a close call radio just for that reason. And it is just the one we have is the receive only by Uniden. And if we hear something, we stop, we look, we listen, and we go, who's transmitting near us? Because it's not us. And because we block our channels out where it won't scan our channels. But anyway, that's way technical.
Yeah, I take that Home Patrol everywhere I go. I took it down to Cape Canaveral for one of their rocket launches. And it was just amazing being able to listen to all the guys talking, to watch the Falcon Heavy go up a couple years ago.
Somebody mentioned here in the questions, asked what the scanner you recommended was, Forrest, and it's a Uniden Home Patrol. I think it's a 2, right, Forrest?
2, yes.
Yeah. And someone mentioned too that lots of law enforcement is now encrypting their radio systems. And yeah, that's true all over the country. Here where I'm at in Tennessee, everything has gone encrypted. So yeah.
Not lots of stuff are encrypted. You got to be careful with the encrypted.
Well, yeah.
They're digital, but not encrypted. Encryption is very expensive.
Oh no, they're running encryption here. Thank you, Homeland Security grant.
Yeah, some Homeland Security grants have gotten some of them encrypted. There's no receiving that.
But there are 2 Home Patrol 2s. There's one that's like a home model that has like a color face on it, it's great. I just prefer the handheld model. I think they're the same price.
Yeah, somebody asked about the shortwave receiver that Bravo 65 held up. It's a County Com GP Golf Papa 5.
Now, can you use that to catch JS call or FDigi and then hook it to a computer?
You probably can.
I think that's only for charging. That's only DC 5 volt for charging. But I can put the long wire. It comes with a long wire. I can attach the long wire to the antenna here and receive on the Amron frequencies and receive that digital. And what it does is that digital, it comes out through the speaker, and then the software, the FLDigi software on the computer decodes that signal and shows me what's coming through.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's another cool thing about FL Digi when doing digital stuff. There's a couple modes that actually work really well with acoustic coupling. You can just hold the radio up to the mic on your computer and it'll decode it. There's some that's very robust.
Yeah, you don't have to go fancy. It can be as simple, like you said, as holding the speaker up to the, your computer, and it'll play right through and decode.
Yep. So, guys, what time is it? Oh, it's after 10. So let me show this next slide here, if I can here. So again, this presentation and all questions about this presentation will be in this new group that I have it as private now. As soon as I get the video over there, I'll make it open to everyone. And we are here to help, guys. We've got to get this national network going, and so documentation is going to come out. Don't let it scare you. Maybe we'll do like I was going to, at first I was going to use like other software to do this, but I knew if 300 people, none of my software would do over 300 people. That's why we had to stream it to YouTube, because all the other up and coming new ones, they can't do live streaming yet. Rumble and all these other ones. But guys, we're going to have documentation. So if you want to be a city leader, comms leader, or be a part of that team, connect with your city leader and tell them. And if your city leader, you don't, I mean, and yeah.
Hey guys, just real quick on the scanning thing. I just seen some things in there. They're talking about the encryption. Encryption on those scanners, don't get confused between encryption and APCO 25. Some of APCO 25 stuff, which is what is called a digital signal, it's actually digital and you can still pick up. Most of North Carolina is still, they're on APCO 25, it's digital, and you have to have one of those home patrols to pick it up, but it's not encrypted. So there's still a lot out there that's not encrypted, and those do pick up still a lot of emergency management and emergency services type frequencies. So don't let the encryption get in the way of not getting one of those scanners.
Yep. If you're in Charlotte area tomorrow night, I am teaching on survival groups, which is kind of my thing. I'm teaching on survival groups at Jonathan's Restaurant in Matthews. It's at 7 p.m. So, any last words? I always like saying that. Any last words, guys? Bravo, come on. You got to have some kind of a summation or something.
Just the biggest thing is, get out there and get involved with a local ham club. They will assist you in getting started and, get you up to speed on your standard communications. And, once you're familiar with that and you're a little bit ready, hop on to Amron. Amron is mostly the advanced. And I got to say one thing about Amron. A lot of people join Amron, and there are probably some disgruntled people, because they get out there and they join Amron and they're sitting there expecting Amron to come to them to do something, and they're not putting in themselves, not putting in what it needs to get done. So if you do join Amron, it's up to you to say, hey, jump on Amron has Zello channels. We have about 10 different Zello channels, just like PrepperNet. You jump on one of those Zello channels, say, hey, I need some help with this. I guarantee you there's going to be somebody on there right away helping you get whatever you need done. Because everybody that calls me, I've helped quite a few people get in digital modes, and that's what I like to do.
Actually, one of the guys you trained to get on digital is going to be training me. Nosco, I don't know his call sign, but you helped him, and now he's going to help me.
Excellent. That's what this is all about. And that's why we're here. We're here to help, anyone who needs the help. So it's up to everyone. You got to be willing to step forward and say, hey, I need help with this. And, hop on there and let us know.
Yeah.
Every day, I'm almost on every day helping somebody get up to speed on digital.
Just like Bravo 65 said, JJS has done a phenomenal job with Amron, and the group of guys that he has attracted to Amron Core is quite amazing. Best group of guys I've ever participated with that kind of thing with, bar none. So yes, if you want to learn fast, that is a great place to go. But if you're new to this, don't be afraid. Even if it's with some FRS radios, get out there, transmit, play, and see what they'll actually do. Because until you get some real world experience, everything else is just, theory. And you'll learn a lot just by, going and wandering around the woods with a couple of buddies using FRS if you don't have a license for anything else.
And I do want to recommend everyone, we do a thing called Zello Night on Monday nights. And it's the reason we do that is to practice being on a HF radio or a 2-meter radio or a hand talk. I mean, it's practice of transmitting. Even though you're transmitting on the internet, it's to get people kind of used to being on a net. And so take part of that as well. If you're a city leader, comms leader, you need to start one for your city every week or every other week or something. So so we'll be coming out with plans for that. We got a lot of work in store for us, don't we, Bravo and Patrick? I mean,
yes, indeed, we do.
But we have so many people interested that want to take up their game. We have to do this.
I've seen a couple people mention that they're going to join Amron soon. Don't be surprised if it takes some time. They're backed up at the moment. Bravo 65 probably knows more about that than I do, but I know they're swamped.
Yeah, they've made some changes, and they're a little bit behind right now.
Yep. And I'd say support Amron 100%. I love Amron. I love JJS, and just expect that all the information that we talked about tonight will be coming out, and we will be doing programs. We'll be doing national nets. We'll be doing test nets. We'll be doing all the stuff that more on a beginner basis than Amron really ever does. And so, I mean, stay with us too, but support Amron absolutely. But we're going to be doing the same things ourselves.
You guys who are listening here, you're the foundation of this to make it work. We can build a fancy HF backbone and communicate all over the country with each other, but that doesn't do us any good if there's not people on the ground that we can relay that information to, that are sending us information, that are participating. You guys are the ones that matter. You're the reason we're doing this.
Yep. And for the love of mankind, we've got to make this work so that we can actually imagine if PrepperNet surpasses Amron, which we will big time in the number of people that is going to be participating. And then imagine Amron helping us run the back end and all the information and stuff. We could build a communication network that is like no other thing in the United States and it all starts with us, to be honest with you. Amron has the network, but they don't have the people. They don't have the thousands of people that we have. So,
and just tell you real quick how that information will flow. During an emergency, Amron will be exchanging intelligence and messages. PrepperNet, myself, Patrick and Henry and Scott and all those guys who are on here is considered backbone stations or liaison stations. They'll be on the Amron nets on digital and voice also. So what they'll do and what I'll do is I'll pick up information or intelligence from Amron that comes in. I'll then take that over to our PrepperNet. We got our own PrepperNet frequencies. I'll start broadcasting that on the HF side of the PrepperNet frequencies. And then there will be people who are tied and around the HF guy, the comms leader for each city. And that comms guy will give the information to each city leader to disseminate. So that's how that's how that web kind of forms. So it's going to be really good.
Yep. And I'll tell you, as I hate saying this, but as the leader of PrepperNet, I am committed to make this work, and I hope you guys are behind me. Hey, Bravo, Patrick, thank you for everything you've done because you've really done a lot. People haven't seen it yet. A lot of the stuff you've done, but over time they will see the hard work that you've put into this. And it's like planting a vineyard, man. You guys have been planting and getting the weeds out and getting things ready. There will be a harvest, and when that day happens, people will see, the hard work that you've done to actually do this for PrepperNet. And I want to thank you guys and look forward to working with you guys. And just know that, just tell me what I need to do, and I'll get it done for you guys to make sure that everyone can get the information and see the emails or the documents that we're pushing out. So anyway, everyone else, hey guys, I just opened the group up. It's called PrepperNet Videos and Webinars. In a little bit, I'll upload the video there, but go ahead and any questions about this particular video, go and ask questions there. We'll pay attention to that. And then it'll slowly die down. New people will go and see some of the answers and questions and answers. And then we'll move back over to the COMMS page as well, because a lot of people on the COMMS page, they didn't see this. So let's just go over there if you got questions, and I'm sure that we'll get to it at some point. Okay. Hey, I'm going to end it. We've been on this forever. We still got a couple hundred people still in here. And guys, thank you for joining us. I hope you see our passion with this. And you promised me, every single one of you said you promised me you were going to be a part of this. So I'm going to hold you to it. So everyone, God bless. We'll see you guys later.